Hello again. Now, the City of Cape Town has outlined a 10-point plan that it believes could spell the end of rolling blackouts. The plan involves the establishment of a power crisis unit in National Treasury, not structured like our usual national task team. This would enable regulatory decisions and cut the red tape on the establishment of natural gas imports, among other things. The city says the electricity crisis can only be solved if President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa acts decisively and makes bold decisions. Well, what do those look like? Let's discuss this now with the Cape Town Mayor, Geordin Hill-Lewis. Good afternoon, Mayor. Thank you very much for your time. I've had a read of those 10 points, the points that you say should be done. And I must confess, I'm not an electrician, I'm not an energy expert, but some of them just make common sense. Why did you find it necessary at this point to table them the way you've done?
Afternoon, Dan. It's nice to be with you. Basically, in Cape Town, we've set a clear timeline for how we want to act to solve load shedding in Cape Town. And when you look at that timeline, we've set about a 50-month timeline. A huge portion of that timeline is just taken up not by building actual renewable power or by connecting it to the grid, but just regulatory issues, permissions and licenses and so on. And so, in discussion with my team over the last few weeks of this profound crisis that we've had, we've just been pulling our hair out and coming up with ideas about what can we do to really speed up that timeline, not just for us in Cape Town, but for the whole country. And the regulatory problems are a huge part of how we could speed it up.
Okay, let's just take them one by one. I was very fascinated by your call to say the government must abolish the 100 megawatt limitation on independent power producing, because just a few months ago, many in the energy sectors were celebrating that it was moved up from 10 megawatts to 100 megawatts.
Yes.
What's your rationale for calling it to be unrestricted?
Well, remember that even the 100 megawatts was an arbitrary number. It was just a thumbsuck. Yes, it was a celebration. Geordin was arguing for 10. The president apparently wanted 100, and so they settled on 100. But there's no reason why it should be 100. It could be 200. It could be 500. But the point is, we shouldn't actually even have a limit. Just throw the doors wide open and say we are in a profound and unprecedented crisis. We need to buy as much power as is humanly possible, as quickly as is humanly possible. Just throw open the doors and windows and say, there are no limits. We need as much as you can provide.
And part of that, another separate point you make is that you want municipalities to be removed from getting approval from the Minister of Energy.
Yes. Yes, we have said in Cape Town that we are going ahead without asking for that approval. And we have had no one try to stop us yet. But to be honest, Dan, there is a complete grey area.
But you are breaking the law.
Says one thing.
But you are breaking the law, Mayor. If it's not allowed, why are you doing it without approval? Aren't you breaking regulation? Is that a good example?
No, it's not. It's not clear that it's not allowed. We don't know. The Treasury says that we are allowed to go ahead. We get mixed messages from the Energy Ministry. That's why I'm saying it needs to be absolutely clear, and we would prefer a complete exemption, to say municipalities do not need that ministerial determination, and we can go ahead without it.
Yeah, and also you want them to be all what you regard as unnecessary legislation. You want all municipalities in the country, especially the financially health ones, across the country, the financially health municipalities to be exempted from unnecessary legislation. We know from the latest Auditor General's report that many of them are in the Western Cape. There are some that are scattered elsewhere. Are you just betting for the home team here, the Western Cape?
Perhaps I am slightly, but yes, I mean, it is relevant that most of the financially healthy municipalities in the country are located in one province, but it's not the only thing that's relevant. There are other healthy municipalities elsewhere. The point is, the broader point, Dan, is it's really difficult for a municipality that cannot even pay its salaries to do what we are trying to do here in Cape Town and elsewhere, those other places that are trying to get off the Eskom reduce their reliance on Eskom and end load shedding. It's much harder for them to do it. So this really does apply to financially healthy municipalities.
Okay, finally, Mayor, you said the power crisis unit in the National Treasury must have representation from across the board, all municipalities and technical experts, but it must not behave like your usual task team. Therefore, what must it do that will be different?
Yeah, this is the one that I hesitated most about. You know well, Dan, South Africa is brilliant at task teams and conferences and discussion groups and so on. And what I really hoped was that the crisis of the last few weeks has put our country in a place where we've actually got the political will to say, this is not just another discussion forum or a so-called task team, but we are going to have a small group of dedicated people who are going to report to the president and the minister nearly daily. I would say almost daily they should report on the progress made to remove every single hurdle, every single piece of red tape and unnecessary regulatory burden to buying power as quickly as possible, as much as we need.
Okay, you say, and this is the last question from me, you want Eskom's Ankerlig plant in Atlantis in Cape Town to be converted to natural gas and run the plant on a mid-merit basis. As I said earlier, I'm not an energy expert. What does this all mean, and how feasible do you think this would be?
Essentially what it means at the moment, it is a huge plant. It's running entirely on diesel. It is extremely expensive and totally unsustainable. But if it were to convert to natural gas, which is easy to do, it could run much more cheaply, and it could actually be a power station. At the moment, it's there basically just for emergencies. Like now, it's running at full steam to try and keep the lights on. But it is costing tens of millions of rands a day in diesel. So it could be much more cheaply run as a proper power station on natural gas. And what we need to do is just secure a steady supply of natural gas to Cape Town, probably via the Cape Town Harbour or via the Langebaan Saldanha Bay Harbour. And really, Eskom should be working daily with Transnet, the Ports Authority, to make that happen. And that is exactly another important thing that task team could work on, is looking at securing that gas supply to the Western Cape.
Okay, Mayor, thanks for your time. Before you go, I've got some breaking news for you, which you can go and share and say, tell your colleagues you had them first here on eNCA this afternoon. Okay, and it's a statement from Eskom. We've just been talking about load shedding. They are saying now stage 3 load shedding will be implemented at 5 o'clock to 4 o'clock, 5 in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, both Wednesday and Thursday. That's tomorrow and Thursday, with lower stages of load shedding implemented through the week. That's just come through now. And when they say stage 3, in Cape Town, it's going to be stage what?
It'll probably be stage 2. We can make it stage 1, actually, but I want to keep some reserve capacity there for in case things get worse again next week. But let me say, Dan, the risk for South Africa, we are so used to the failure of load shedding that now when they lower the stages to stage 3, we all feel lucky and grateful. We must not accept. Stage 3 is still 3 stages too many. Load shedding is still an unacceptable failure in South Africa. We must work to end it. And one of my big worries is that next week, maybe the situation stabilizes and we go to stage 2, and then everyone says, yay, we've only got stage 2 load shedding, when this is still a total failure and we cannot accept it.
No power cut should be celebrated. I get the message. Thank you very much, Cape Town Mayor there. That's Geordin Hill-Lewis. They've got a 10-point plan. They've written out, suggesting to the president to follow. Meanwhile, you've heard it, stage 3 load shedding from 5 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, both on Wednesday and Thursday. They'll reduce the stages as the week goes on. That is Eskom. That's the developing story this hour. But Mayor Geordin Hill-Lewis making a good point. No stage is good enough. We should have no stage of any blackout at all in South Africa. How are you going to build the country? How are you going to grow the economy? How are you going to create jobs if you have no electricity?